Zabuza walked through the small camp, bordering the land of water. He slipped into a tent at the center, two men waiting inside. "I take it everything is in order?" the rogue asked. The man with an eye patch nodded. "Lady Mai has her shinobi set up at the strategic locations surrounding the hidden mist. We are ready to strike at any time." "Thank you, Ao. Tell your master my group shall be prepared by tomorrow. We are waiting on 2 more people." Ao raised an eyebrow. Who could possibly be worth the delay? Zabuza smirked. "My old student and a new friend of hers. Trust me, you'll like to know we have them fighting with us." Ao shrugged his shoulders. "Just make sure we see the signal once you attack." Zabuza smirked. "I plan to. Besides, you'll see it with that stolen eye of yours." Ao glared at him, exiting the tent with his escort. Zabuza looked down at the map on the table in the middle of the tent. Specific locations were marked. Some were the spots the rebellion army were set up. Others were the strike points Zabuza and his small group were attacking. A single marker stood in the middle of the hidden mist village. Much like the leaf, the Mizukage mansion was placed in the center of the village. Yagra rarely ventured out of the building, and it was one of the most heavily guarded areas within the village walls. The walls themselves were nothing special. The dense chakra-filled mist surrounding the wall was what posed a problem. "Zabuza, your guests are here. They showed the mask like you requested." "Send them in," Zabuza answered, turning as the tent was opened. Despite only seeing her a month ago through his clone's memories, Zabuza almost didn't recognize Haku as she stepped inside. She had returned to her old attire from before joining the Hidden Leaf. Her mask looked faded from lack of use, but was easily recognizable. "Lord Zabuza," Haku declared, bowing low. "Enough with the Lord stuff, kid. I've got plenty of ninja working under me now. I prefer it to be less formal for simplicity's sake." "I understand, Zabuza," Haku replied hesitantly. Zabuza's eyes moved to Naruto as he came in behind Haku. He had changed dramatically since their last encounter. He was now almost as tall as Haku, even though he started out almost a foot shorter. His hair had also grown, a lock falling over his black headband. He had removed the hidden leaf symbol to not stand out as much, but his attire already made that next to impossible. His orange sleeves were rolled up, revealing black arm guards. A seal was painted in white on each. Last was a small scroll tied to the back of his waist, similarly to Jiraiya and his toad contract scroll. Naruto met Zabuza's gaze, the two silent. Naruto had a calm expression, Zabuza grinning behind his bandages. "Good to see you've matured, brat. Glad to have you on the team." Naruto nodded in thanks. "I'll keep up my end of our bargain." "I know you will," Zabuza replied, gripping the handle of his executioner's blade. "You two rest up. We attack at daybreak tomorrow. We can reminisce after the battle. If my men start giving you a hard time, don't hesitate to cut a limb off." Zabuza exited the tent, Naruto turning to Haku. Was he serious? Haku shrugged, her eyes following her master as he walked off. He seemed distracted, which was understandable. She turned back to Naruto, whose own eyes were filled with his thoughts. "Thinking about the Three Tails again?" Naruto frowned. "Zabuza knows that Yagura is a Jinchuriki, but if we end up killing him, the Three Tails will most likely end up with the Akatsuki. It takes several years for tailed beasts to reform. I doubt the Akatsuki can accomplish anything with it until it does. Naruto's fists tightened. Even so, if I have to, I'll do what Pervy Sage made this scroll for, he replied, motioning to the scroll on his back. Haku felt her skin turn white. Are you certain? It's better than letting the Akatsuki have it, or letting it loose without a Jinchuriki. As much as I hate to say it, people like me are useful. Haku looked away, unable to look at the blonde. He started acting like this ever since they began trading for the rebellion. He was distant, which was uncharacteristic of him. He talked to her less and less, training mostly by himself. There was nothing she could force herself to say. Sakura's conversation with her a month ago somehow made it even harder for her to admit her feelings. Even so, after this battle, I will confess, and then me and Naruto will decide how to proceed from there, Haku told herself. She followed Naruto out of the tent, the group of rogues staring at the two intently. They didn't trust them, and for good reason. They hadn't been suffering the same as all the rogues, trying to take their home back. For all they knew, Naruto and Haku could be spies. Naruto ignored them, Haku sticking close. They ended up standing on watch towards the land of fire. Night came and passed, Zabuza finding the two asleep near the outskirts of the camp. Wake up, kids. The time is almost here, the man said, looking up at the sun's first rays bright in the sky. Where do you want the two of us? Naruto asked, tensing as all the rogue shinobi rose as well. You're with me. We'll be meeting up with the leader of the other rebel group and storm the Mizukage. There are two rebel groups? Zabuza tossed the two a paper seal. My group was the first. After we failed to kill Yagra, more shinobi left the mist, forming a resistance under Mei Terumi. Our ideas differ, but we're working together to get rid of the Mizukage. After that's done, our group will figure something out. Those seals I gave you will dispel the mist surrounding the village walls. If the mist is dispelled, our enemies will know about it, so use them as a last resort if you lose my chakra signature. The two nodded, following Zabuza as he relayed the plan once more. The rogues were silent, but their eyes were burning. Naruto could feel their desire. He felt his own body swell with frustration. He wasn't doing this just for Zabuza now. The group left their camp, traveling towards the hidden mist in silence. Halfway, the rest of them split into 4 teams, leaving Zabuza, Haku, and Naruto. They were taking the west entrance. Zabuza stopped their advance, pointing to the wall of mist a few feet away. It was shorter than the Leaf's walls, but it was much larger, the mist steadily swirling back and forth. They could all feel the chakra weaved into it. Zabuza motioned for them to slowly approach. Once they were close, Zabuza performed hand signs, releasing a small bubble from his mouth. The bubble encased the trio. Stay close. This bubble won't last long, Zabuza stated. They slowly walked into the mist, the bubble pushing it outwards. Naruto stared at it intently as they walked. The chakra creating the bubble must be mixing with the chakra weaved into the mist. Those monitoring the mist wouldn't be able to detect our chakra signature. He couldn't help but smirk. Good thing Pervy Sage taught me all he could on ninjutsu observation. After a few minutes of walking, they made it to the small wall that kept the mist from going into the village. Naruto placed his hand on the stone surface, creating a perfect circle for them to climb through. Once on the other side, the trio kept close to the wall, heading towards the gate a few feet away. Shinobi were stationed on either side. The bubble popped, Zabuza dashing forward. Neither Naruto or Haku saw his attack, but before they knew it, the guards were on the ground, unconscious. Zabuza then jumped onto the wall, raising his blade. The sun reflected off it, the same light coming from each of the gates. Zabuza smirked. Time for the fun to begin. Zabuza jumped off the gate, throwing a pair of kunai behind him. They struck the gate, explosive tags going off shortly after. The explosions were followed by 3 more, Naruto and Haku joining Zabuza as he jumped to the rooftop. Our goal is that tower, Zabuza pointed ahead of them. He could sense Mei's shinobi heading through the mist. A siren could then be heard all throughout the village. The rebellion had begun. Mei Terumi will catch up. No matter what, keep heading towards the tower. The other rebels can take care of any enemies or civilians. Haku nodded, the two dashing off. Naruto stepped behind. As they traversed the rooftops, Naruto could see a wave of shinobi storming into the village, another running away from the Mizukage Tower. Naruto doubted they would leave Yagura unprotected, but less people to deal with was an advantage. Still, he felt a sense of guilt not helping those out on the ground. No, Naruto told himself. This is their village. They're the ones who want to fight, not some leaf ninja. My only goal here is to repay Zabuza and prevent the Three Tails from escaping or falling to the Akatsuki. He kept his eyes focused on the tower. It was similar to the Hokage Tower, but didn't have the same sense of grandeur. As they ran, a blue aura quickly engulfed the building. It didn't take long to realize it was a chakra barrier. Zabuza stopped his advance, weaving a set of hand signs. Water style. Chakra eater. A being of water formed in front of Zabuza, resembling a dragon's head. It flew towards the barrier, opening its mouth wide. Both Naruto and Haku watched with amazement as the barrier warped, pulled into the mouth of the dragon. It grew in size with each drop of chakra, until it was easily the size of the tower itself. Once the barrier was absorbed, the dragon closed its mouth, before suddenly shrinking to its original size. Zabuza placed his hand on the dragon, making it disperse. What was that? Naruto asked. The technique I've been perfecting to use against Yagura. My strongest weapon against opponents who can use high amounts of chakra, Zabuza replied, feeling the absorbed chakra flowing into his body. Haku saw his muscles twitch, her master taking a deep breath as the barrier's chakra coursed through him. Zabuza frowned. Unfortunately, that technique requires more chakra than what I regain from what it absorbs. I can only use it 3 more times. Zabuza continued forward, the group entering the Mizukage Tower. As they ran through the halls, they only met a few conscious shinobi. Most were knocked out, sprawled across the floor. The walls were riddled with holes, the stone melting before their eyes. Looks like Mei is already ahead of us, Zabuza chuckled. Sure enough, once they made it to the top floor, they encountered 3 figures, 2 men and 1 woman, fighting another group of shinobi. Naruto recognized the man with the eye patch, catching a glimpse of them before they left Zabuza's camp. The other had short blue hair and also sharp teeth. He wielded a pair of oddly shaped swords, attached by a short chain. The woman had long, dark orange hair that covered one of her green eyes. Her dark blue dress was covered with streaks of blood, her exposed shoulders sporting a wound. Ahead of them, guarding the door to the Mizukage office, was 4 men. Each wielded weapons Haku was vaguely aware of. The remaining blades of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Took you long enough to catch up, Zabuza, the woman smirked. Sorry I can't just burn my way through everything like you, Mei, Zabuza growled, drawing his blade. Naruto and Haku stood behind the adults. The men they were against all had hollow eyes. Naruto realized instantly, thanks to Jiraiya's teachings, that they were all being controlled by genjutsu. The adults realized as well. Whoever was controlling them clearly didn't care if they lived or died, based on the numerous wounds they already received. Naruto frowned. They were in a tight hallway, 6 versus 4. He relied on speed, which he couldn't use with so many people in such a tight space. He also didn't know how well their ragtag group could fight effectively against lifeless opponents. They also had to reserve their energy for Yagura. "Don't start overanalyzing things, kid," Zabuza interrupted him. "Let the adults handle this for now. You two provide backup." "So, you trust these children?" Mei asked, glancing at the Uzumaki and Yuki. "Even though one of them is from the Leaf? He is the Jinchuriki of the Ninetales, and she is the last user of Ice Style. So yes, I do." Mei's shock lasted only a second at the revelation. She met Naruto's eyes, the blonde staring back firmly. She turned away. "We'll talk about that later, Zabuza. Let's deal with your fellow 7 swordsmen." Zabuza smirked, tightening his grip on his sword. Without another word, Zabuza dashed. "Chojuro, back him up," Mei ordered. The man with the twin swords nodded, joining the fray. The 2 men were just as fast as their fellow swordsmen, Ao using kunai to defend their backs. Mei stood with Naruto and Haku, waiting for the moment to step in. Zabuza blocked 2 blades, Chojuro kicking his opponent back. Zabuza jumped, slashing 3 shoulders at once. Ao stabbed one in the chest, receiving a punch in the face. Chojuro caught him, blocking a slash. "Lava style! Lava monster jutsu!" Mei unleashed a burst of acidic mud, which instantly began to eat away at the enemy it landed on. Zabuza threw an explosive kunai, but it was batted away, blasting a hole in the wall. Ao landed a series of precise blows, Chojuro landing another slash to the chest. The first enemy was down. Zabuza was narrowly defending against 3 more swordsmen, using liquid bullets to give himself some space. "Now, Haku!" Haku placed her hands on the ground, a stream of ice connecting with the water covering the floor and walls. Dozens of spikes shot out, skewering another of the swordsmen. Chojuro cut him down, Ao joining him to push back the last 2. "Get back! He's about to use his explosive tags," Mei shouted. Haku focused on one of the enemy swords. It was specifically designed to unleash thousands of explosives at once. It was arguably the strongest of the blades by itself, and since its wielder was under genjutsu, they would kill themselves if it meant defeating the rebels. Naruto acted fast, flying past Mei, Zabuza, Chojuro, and Ao. He kicked both enemies directly in the face, forming chakra in his hands. Scorch style. Water killer. 2 pink flames appeared in Naruto's hands, slamming them down on his opponent's arms. Their blades fell from their grasps. The blonde jumping away as Zabuza and Chojuro jumped in to finish them off. Naruto frowned as they dropped, dead. He would have preferred to release their genjutsu and let them live, but they were mist ninja. It was up to the rebels whether they lived or not. He had accepted that long before the invasion had begun. "That's 4 swords in our possession," Chojuro declared, picking up the special swords and placing them in a scroll. "Now, all that's left is Yagura." Mei nodded, turning to Zabuza. "So, should I trust you to finish what you couldn't last time? Do you think you can defeat a Jinchuriki when he would be immune to both of your Kekkei Genkai?" Mei sighed. "I guess not. How about this? You get to kill him, and I get to become Mizukage of the new Hidden Mist." "Fine with me," Zabuza shrugged, beckoning Naruto and Haku. "That easily?" the blonde asked. "It's not like I ever wanted to be a Kage. Besides, Mei has more support than I do. I'd be lucky to still be allowed to live in the mist after this. I've done my fair share of atrocities." Naruto didn't push the issue as Mei handed Zabuza a paper flare. "If things go south, set this off. but I expect not to see it." Zabuza nodded. "You make sure the rest of the village is secure." Mei smiled, turning to Naruto. "Before you go, I want a word with the leaf brat." Naruto stared at her blankly, unsure what to expect. The last thing he did expect was the woman to throw her arm around his neck. She leaned down to stare into his eyes, too close for comfort. Naruto didn't speak, trying not to pull back. After a moment, Mei chuckled, much to everyone's confusion. "This kid's strong, and nothing like Yagura. You chose a good Jinchuriki this time, Zabuza." "What does that mean?" Haku asked, holding herself back from pushing Mai off Naruto. "Last Jinchuriki Zabuza tried to recruit ended up going berserk. Almost killed both me and Shodro and Zabuza. We forced him to run since he couldn't control his tailed beast. Since he's from the Hidden Mist, we were planning to let him back after we defeated Yagura. But he seemed to go into hiding." Mei grinned. "You, on the other hand, appear to be in control. And since you seem rather close with this Yuki girl, I doubt you go crazy or turn against us." Mei took her arm off Naruto, walking away from the Mizukage office. Ao and Shodro following. "Ao, keep that eye of yours trained on this tower, just in case." "Yes, Lady Mai," Naruto heard Ao respond as they disappeared. "Ready, kids?" Zabuza asked, slashing the lock on the door. Naruto and Haku nodded, Zabuza weaving hand signs. "Water style. Hidden Mist Jutsu. Water style. Water Dragon Jutsu." The dragon burst through the door, mist filling the room instantly. Zabuza dashed in first, Haku following with her hands low to the ground. Frost flew towards the desk on the opposite side of the room. The water dragon burst, blades of ice forming shortly after. Haku clapped her hands, the blades expanding to pierce the figure behind the desk. Naruto saw the figure turn to smoke, putting him on edge. Another thing Jiraiya had taught him was to sense chakra signatures better. But in this case, he still couldn't sense who he assumed was Yagura. "He's behind you." Naruto's eyes grew wide as the rumbling voice echoed through his mind. The Nine-Tails was correct. He whipped around, a figure standing in the middle of the mist. Zabuza threw explosive kunai, only to have them batted away, creating a hole in the wall. The massive circular window behind them allowed Naruto to make out the young man's features within the mist. Short gray hair parted to the side, pure pink eyes that shone in the dim light, a scar running down from the left. He wore a gray shirt with the mist symbol on the front. His neck was covered by a green scarf, a matching cloth wrapped around his legs. Instead of sandals, he wore brown boots. "I see Zabuza has returned to fail once more, and I assume the girl is that last Yuki member my men were too incompetent to kill. And lastly, the blonde." The man was silent for a moment. "Oh, I see. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Looks like I've got my work cut out for me. Now, I'm sure you already know my name, but I'll introduce myself anyway." The man bowed, a large staff appearing on his back. One side had a small hook. The other side had a larger one, as well as a green flower attached to it. The man chuckled. "My name is Yagura, current Mizukage, and Jinchuriki of the Three-Tailed Turtle Demon. I do hope you give me a good fight before I'm forced to kill every last one of you." If you like what you just heard, consider hitting the subscribe button and bell icon to get notified about new videos. If there's a part you've missed, then check out the entire playlist on screen. If you like this story, please share it with your fellow anime lovers. Any support helps a lot. That's all for now. This is Ninja Kai, disappearing in a golden flash.